On Wednesday of this week, the Diddy verdict was reached in a federal courthouse in downtown New York City. And for women everywhere, this verdict is depressing, it's enraging, it defies logic if you even look at the counts that he was found guilty and not guilty on. Count one, racketeering, conspiracy, not guilty. 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. 1 count in the case of Cassie Ventura, the other for Jane Doe, both not guilty. Transportation to engage in prostitution, 2 counts guilty. Those are the far lesser charges. I don't understand logically how a jury can find him not guilty of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, but guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. This does not track to me, but we will get into it in a moment. I also want to talk about the ways in which this was covered in both New York City tabloids and national publications. And this tells us everything about how these publications want us to think. The Daily News, which at this point is largely irrelevant, but it's a good front page. Diddy spared the worst. It's got the court sketch of him praying to God theatrically, a God who I think has long since stopped taking Sean Combs's calls. The Journal, front page, above the fold. Above the fold is a huge deal. Sean Diddy Combs, this courtroom sketch on his hands and knees in a supplicant position, begging for his freedom. Okay. The New York Times, by the way, if you look at this, if I picked this up this morning, I looked at above the fold, I looked at below the fold, and I'm going, where's Sean Combs? The biggest American story of the week, save the Idaho college murders plea deal, which we'll get to in a moment. And you would think nothing happened, except if you look way over on the left, without any sort of graphic or illo, none of these dramatic things. Combs avoids life in prison in split verdicts. Could you think of a more anodyne headline? This guy who's public enemy number 1 in New York City right now. New York Post did it best. Notorious PIG with that undeniable image of Sean Combs grabbing a helpless Cassie by the neck before that beating and dragging that we all saw. Now, I paid a lot of attention to the news coverage, local and national, on linear cable and linear broadcast news, because that still counts. People do still watch it. We saw, I could not believe this. If you need any further proof that New York City is really going downhill in a way that may not be salvageable, there were supporters of Diddy's spraying baby oil all over each other outside, in extreme heat, by the way, in celebration of this monster, this abuser of women, this man who beats women because he hates women and probably hates himself. And you and I, we both know what I'm talking about here. Great. What an addition. His freedom, his eventual freedom will be. By the way, this Us Weekly is like a month old. Will Diddy walk? I thought this was just a lame attempt to get some clicks and likes and move some copies. But no, they were right. He's not going to serve much time at all. Now, there was coverage on local and national, so local affiliates and national news networks. Live coverage of this jury verdict. And there's a woman named Sandra Bookman, who has been a longtime reporter / news anchor on ABC News. She's a Black woman. And she said of this verdict, quote, "You have to give the jury credit for being able to wade through that information." Number one, I'm going to say that is a low bar, because that is the very definition of serving on a jury, wading through information to arrive at a decision. And secondly, do we have to give this jury credit? A jury, by the way, that was 8 men, 4 women. The composition we are hearing was of many older people. I don't think I have to give this jury credit for wading through that information. I think there were people on that jury who were either A, determined that Sean Combs would not be facing life in prison, that he would be getting at best a slap on the wrist, or B, I put nothing past Sean Combs. A couple of them were gotten to, a couple of them were given some payoffs. Just a theory, just my theory. Now, of that verdict, this is what a local news anchor on a major affiliate, ABC News, known to her viewers lo these many years, says of the verdict, quote, "That's their business. I don't want to get into that. If I'm running that affiliate of ABC News, I'm suspending that woman or I'm firing her for cause. And the cause is she's a fucking moron. It is all of our business. It is all of our business, especially the victims who now fear for their safety. Cassie fears for her safety, and she's not crazy to. I think it's the most sane reaction possible. And especially women everywhere, because if you don't think this sends a message about what men can still do to women with impunity, okay. Now let's remember that there was a third female victim set to testify against Sean Combs, an alleged victim, who withdrew at the last minute and I think fled to another state. I mean, do we need any more evidence as to the danger and the threat this guy poses? Now, after the verdict was read and the defense said to the judge, we would like to move for Sean to be let out on bail. This is a first offense. It's not a first offense. Everyone who lives in New York knows Sean Combs, the gun, the nightclub, the woman who got shot in the face, someone else who took the fall. My opinion and the opinion of many in the hip hop community, again, lo these many years, the City College stampede that left people dead. Sean Combs was the promoter, early 90s. The long-standing rumors that Kim Porter, the mother of several of his children who died of pneumonia at a very young age, what that death is about, really. Tupac and Biggie. I mean, come on. We're gonna pretend that Sean Combs is just an aficionado of buying baby oil in bulk. So Cassie's lawyers, either very swiftly or they had it ready to go, they submitted a letter to the judge and they were begging him to keep Sean Combs incarcerated, knowing that he is a risk. Despite the lawyer saying that Combs would put up his mansion on Star Island, that is a very exclusive island in Florida. There's like 30 millionaires and billionaires who live there. You can only get access by boat. That mansion he would put up for collateral. His private plane has been, Okay. Anyway, the judge said no. And I think if this judge is smart, between now and October, which is when the sentencing is scheduled for, he will really think long and hard about the message the sentence he metes out is going to send. So as I'm writing down this other utterance from a female NBC correspondent in the wake of this aftermath, again, you can't trust anything these people are telling you. They're not reporting the facts and they're not trying at all to be objective. So this is a female correspondent on Wednesday, NBC, a woman of color, who wondered aloud if the jury voted not guilty on the greater charges because, quote, Black men are historically found guilty of stuff white men would get a pass for. So I guess we're back in the days of OJ and look how that turned out. Okay. Jane Doe testified to many horrors, but among the text messages that were read aloud that she sent to Sean Combs after freak-offs that she was begging to stop being a forced participant in, she wrote to Sean Combs, quote, I am not an animal. I am not a porn star. She, like Cassie at one point during a freak-off, vomited. And Sean Combs said, get back in there. Capricorn Clark, his assistant, said that she was kidnapped and she was taken to a warehouse somewhere in Midtown Manhattan. And she was held there for days. And she was threatened with her life because Sean Combs thought she stole some jewelry. and she was going to be subjected to a polygraph. And if she failed that polygraph, a test that determines your truthfulness by your blood pressure and your heart rate. So your life's being threatened and you're totally cool. She was going to be thrown in the East River and her body would never be found. Okay. Now before, or maybe it was after the verdict, I forget, but regardless, the optics are disgusting. Sean Combs was leading his family in prayer. His family, including his mother, exits the courtroom post this verdict, and it's like they're on the red fucking carpet. They're smiling, they're waving, they're exulting, they're dressed in their best. Like, they're so proud. They're so proud. They have this depraved criminal as the patriarch of their family. Okay. And by the way, this verdict's coming down on Independence Day. You know, let's not forget the most coveted ticket in the Hamptons. And this we're going to get to towards the end of our show. The Hamptons, what you see is not what you get. What you're fed by the media is not what the case is. Trust me. But the most coveted ticket for years in the East Hampton was Diddy's annual white party on the 4th of July weekend, or whenever it fell, whatever, you know what I mean. And I just also want to note that Jane Doe was sketched by the courtroom artist, always faceless. And I think I found these images the most haunting and poignant of the trial, because she was in such fear for her life and safety, and I'm sure still is, that they couldn't even give us a glimpse of what she actually looked like. And to me, that faceless image stands for all of the women who have and are and will suffer domestic and sexual violence. And in the wake of a verdict like this, will feel that it's pointless to come forward. And why not just remain faceless? Because if the criminal justice system is just going to beat you up all over again, what is the point? Happy holidays. And regarding Diddy, I want to make one other final note that I think is incredibly important and salient, because it's the thing that's not being said. And it's the thing that none of these news reports or the entertainment shows, you know, your Access Hollywoods, your extras, or any of these like Us Weeklies, like none of these, they're not talking about what's not being said. Okay, here's what's not happening. There is not a celebrity, Oprah among them, and she's getting it, who has stood up and said, justice for Sean Combs, justice for Diddy. He is not capable of this. None of the celebrities who attended the white parties or any other of Diddy's events, you know, they all know, they knew and they know, and that's why they're not standing up for him. And they're also keeping their mouths shut because cynical fucks that they are, they know that once this guy gets out, they might need him. They might need him for something, or he knows where their bodies are buried. So keep that in mind. When you see photos of Diddy with these people from his white parties, on red carpets, whatever, just keep that in mind. And as we watch, you know, certain former child stars, Usher talked a lot about it. We talked about what Usher had to say on The Nerve. Justin Bieber was under his mentorship for a time, you know? And I'm just going to say finally, we here at The Nerve, we troublemakers, we will never let up. Diddy is facing more civil suits regarding sexual assault and forcible drugging and rape, and we will be covering them all, okay? In granular detail. And in the meantime, here's hoping hotels across America refuse to take his bookings. You all know his pseudonyms. I don't think he has time to come up with new ones.